Welcome to the Good News Bay podcast, where we are making Bay County brighter, one conversation at a time. My name's Steve Taylor, and we can't wait to get this episode started. Welcome to the Good News podcast, where we are making Bay County brighter, one conversation at a time. Today we have a very special guest who is back with us. Now, why would he be back with us? Well, it's because he's been busy doing work for the last several years over in the State House and State House of Representatives, and we're very glad to have Griff Griffitts with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
You know, you're probably glad to be in Panama City as long as that spring session was.
Yeah, I love being home. 105 days. Supposed to be 60. It lasted 105, so we were there longer than expected. But nothing better than being back in the district and being home.
We probably have a few people. All those that have grown up in Bay County and have been here a while know who you are. But we actually have a lot of people that are moving to Bay County, and some of those have been trying to get up to speed on what it means to be in the know, if you will. So I'm gonna read a little bit of background on you, if that's all right.
Okay, we'll see if it's right.
Well, you served 6 years on the Panama City Beach Civil Service Board, 9 years on the County Planning Commission, 10 years on the Bay County Tourist Development Council. I can kind of remember some of that. You were part of the Bay Med Sacred Heart Board Trustees at one time, Florida State Panama City Foundation Development Board, and also served as the chairman of the PCB Chamber and as a past board member of the Bay County Chamber. And then for 7 years, you were on the Bay County Commission. I say all that because if they wonder, do you have a lot of background on the local level? The answer is absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're also, I mean, you're a beach boy. I mean,
I'm a beach kid. Yeah, I was raised on that beach. I went to beach school.
Yep.
So I'm a proud beach kid.
Well, listen, I think it is an exciting time to be able to talk about all that happened in the spring, maybe some things that are going on currently. I think the average person probably doesn't know a whole lot about how that system works over there in Tallahassee. Yeah. I mean, they know it's not the easiest place to go and work. They probably know that there's some tough things that have to be dealt with. But I want to get a little bit of perspective of how it works. You're in the House of Representatives. You got the State House, and then you got the Senate.
Right.
And so you're serving in the House of Representatives. We got in the Senate side. We have Jay Trumbull.
Correct. Yep.
Y'all work together on some things. Mm-hmm. Some other things you just kind of divide and conquer.
That's right. So we, the House and the Senate are two different elected bodies. We primary goal, the only job of an elected official in the state of Florida is to pass a balanced budget. That's the only job we're required to do. Now, granted, we do go up there and we pass legislation, and we ask for appropriations, which are essentially money. We ask for money for projects. We meet with all our cities in the county, all 7 cities. A lot of the non-governmental folks, the Arc of the Bay, Anchorage Children's Home, folks like that. We get priorities. We talk to them. We sit down and we vet to make sure that it's something that I feel like I can go fight for up in Tallahassee. This last year we filed 28 projects. We got 20 funded, which is a very successful year for us in the state. But what we do is in the House, you file, for an example, if I file a bill and Senator Trumbull files the same bill, they have to match. They're each assigned committees that go through the House, they go through the Senate, and they have to land perfectly exactly the same to go to the House floor and the Senate floor to be voted on. If they're exactly the match, they come out and then they go to the governor's desk, and then the governor can sign it or veto it. And so from the starting line to the finish line is very hard. It's a very, I wouldn't say cumbersome process, but it is designed to weed out bad things. I think it's purposely designed to be that way.
So one of the things you said in the chamber meeting was about South Florida, and that traditionally, as Northwest Florida, we haven't gotten our fair share, if you will, of resources.
There's only 7 representatives from Apalachicola to Pensacola, so there's 113 downstate, and it's just a battle of geography in a lot of cases. And so we, as a Panhandle delegation, we do try to work together and stick together as best we can. But we also have to go downstate and reach out to our friends. My one of my best friends in the process is Rep Abbott from District 5. He's from Defuniak. He's a small town pharmacist and just a good person. And he and I have for years, we joined together in 22, and we've talked about there's so few of us. We have to build bridges to Tampa. We have to build bridges to Miami because we have to have that connection with those people to make sure. Otherwise, we're just a bunch of hayseeds from the panhandle, and they don't. I think a lot of times they think we're just a bunch of dumb rednecks, but then they quickly realize we're pretty smart up here.
Yeah,
we're pretty smart. We do okay.
The accent can be thick, but that doesn't mean we aren't strategic.
I say things, I use my redneck euphemisms and things like that, and I get looks at people down south like, what does that mean? And you kind of explain it to our redneck lingo, and they laugh and they think it's funny. But then after they see you and they recognize that you can articulate and argue a bill or debate a bill, they recognize, oh, this guy's maybe not as dumb as I thought he was.
So tell me about the there's kind of a Cuban American delegation down there.
Mm-hmm.
They're a lot like us, aren't they?
Cubans and rednecks are a lot alike. They like family. They like food. They're not afraid of a fight. They're very much into personal freedoms.
Yeah.
That's why I say rednecks and we're a lot alike. And we have some of the best. I tell you, the Cubans are great people. But at 2 or 3 o'clock every day during session, they bring a cafecito around, which is their little Cuban coffee. And they serve it in a little thimble because it's so powerful that if you drank a cup, you'd probably have a heart attack. But it's really kind of a tradition, and it's cafecito. It's around 2 or 3 o'clock every afternoon, and the Cubans pass it around, and they have their own little internal contest, whose is better and things. So
several years ago, a little personal story. We were on a family trip, and it was a winter trip, and we were snow tubing, and we were piling all of the families that were there. It was about 8 or 10 of us, and we were trying to see how fast we could go hook together. Beside us was a group of Cuban Americans.
Really?
And when they figured out we were from Northwest Florida, they were our biggest fans. Now, we competed with them when we raced down the hill.
Yeah.
But it was so amazing to me that we had so much in common.
They really are good people. They love, when they talk about freedom, it's different. They hold on to it because they talk about, Sunday dinners with grandpa or their dad who had to leave in the middle of the night and had everything taken from them. Yep. And so that was beat into them as a child and now as adults. And so when they get to Tallahassee and you start talking about big government, man, they're like, no, we're not having big government. We're going to stop that. Yep. So that's why I think we're very much alike, and we're blessed. That Cuban delegation they're great people. They're a lot of fun.
So let's talk about some of the things that happened in session. There's you get seven bills that you can.
7 bills in this House side.
Okay, the FWC bill. Talk about that. That's a pretty big deal around here.
It's called the Voter Freedom Bill was the nickname. So I think if you grew up in our part of the world, Northwest Florida, you've probably had interaction. If you've been on a boat, you've had interaction with the Fish and Wildlife Commission in our part of the world. And it's usually a safety check. They would pull you over and how many life jackets you have, that sort of stuff. I always felt it was incredibly intrusive. If I'm in my car and I don't turn on the blinker, then I've committed a traffic violation and the police officer can pull me over. But if I turn on my blinker and I'm just driving down the road, he can't just pull me over and search my car. Yeah. We have a constitutional right against that. So 2 years ago, I talked about this bill and I didn't get a lot of traction as I was a freshman, and it was a big lift. And so this year, we worked through a lot of processes, and essentially the Voter Freedom Bill means that Fish and Wildlife or FWC cannot pull you over to do a safety inspection for a primary violation. You have to have probable cause to pull somebody over in a boat, just like in a car. And so that was a bill that was it was widely debated. I would say popular in some areas, not so popular in others. If through the research that Senator Trumbull and I learned is that FWC operates a little different around the state. I talked to an FWC officer out of Tampa who said that he might do one safety inspection a year. And I said, well, I've been pulled over by the same guy twice in one day. You know, I mean, so it's a little different. I think it's just a little cultural difference. And so that bill was fun to pass. The governor was quick to sign. He was a big fan of it just because it promotes limited government.
Yep.
He doesn't want FWC being intrusive. He wants them to be out there focusing on things that need real work. And
Did he come here to announce
yes,
that bill?
he did. He did. He flew down to sign that bill here with myself and Senator Trumbull because of the work we did on it with his office. He was a big fan. The voter freedom decal will be landing in the tax collector's offices pretty quickly. So when you now go to register your vote, essentially you sign an attestation form that says, I have life jackets, I have flares, I have a sound device, I have a throw device. You have the things you need. You sign that, and they're going to give you that sticker that you put on your boat that basically says, I'm a safe operator. And then you should be okay unless you're out there doing oddball stuff and, cutting donuts or running through no-wake zones. And, look, I think we all recognize when you see a bad boater. We have a huge industry on that beach of rental boats, and I would say 90% of them are not out there to do any harm, and they don't understand the rules, and that's okay. We can teach that, but there are some that are just idiots and dangerous, and that's when the FWC I think needs to go out there and enforce that. When you got people that are hanging off the bow and off the sides of the boats, and you can really get hurt.
Well, you and I have talked enough off air just in the last little bit for me to know that we're both very pro law enforcement, pro those that are breaking rules and laws and all that. Let's keep everybody safe. But
no, I'm a huge supporter. Back the blue. I support our sheriff and our police officers and our FWC officers. They're
it's not easy work.
It's horrible work. It's a terrible job, and they don't get paid enough. But we have in our world, we live in one of the prettiest bay systems. I mean, we are so blessed, and you shouldn't have to worry if you're just out there piddling around, just getting harassed to look at all your stuff. And so I think that's the change, and I think FWC will embrace it and be very happy once they realize that, hey, now we can go focus on real problems out here as opposed to just checking everybody for life jackets.
Absolutely. Well, talk a little bit about property tax protection.
Yeah, property tax. So that's a big discussion. The speaker assembled a select committee on property tax. There's 37 members, I think. We're assembling data from around the state. It's a very complex issue. Most people don't understand your ad valorem tax or your property tax. It has many pieces to it, right? You have your education piece and sometimes a fire and a mosquito and these things. But your overall property tax that the counties or the cities collect, about 50% on average of that money goes to public safety, police, fire, EMS, 911. Those are your primaries. So if you're telling someone we have to trim your budget, if a county commissioner is looking at county manager Micah and says, I need you to trim the budget, the guy that has a $100,000 budget, trimming that ain't much. It ain't gonna help much. But the guy that has the $50 million budget is a big number, and that's our sheriff. That's our EMS, and that's the guys that when we call 911, you want to show up. You want the best and the professionals to show up. So we can't cut property taxes without having a plan to backfill for public safety. And the one size fits all approach is not going to work. We have 30 rural communities in the state, 67 counties, 30 are rural, which means they don't even really pay their bills. The state scholarships them. We subsidize a lot of the things they do, schooling, roads, a lot of things. And so we have to figure out a plan if we want to put money back in people's pockets, which I think is the governor's intent and the legislature's intent. But we have to do it with a plan so that we don't have unintended consequences like no police, fire, or EMS. That we can't have that.
So I hear, and I need you to decipher what I'm asking here because it's not something that we talked about before. But during the PCB chamber meeting, you talked some about the differences between Walton County and what we
Yes.
perceive happening over there
Yeah.
in a variety of different areas and
Right.
what happens in Bay County.
Right.
And there's some fundamental differences with
Huge.
property values that affect that. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So, in all this data collection, what we've learned is speaking with my dear buddy Shane, Rep Abbott from Defuniac, Walton County, Walton County is a number 2, 1, 2, 3 rated school district in the state, year in, year out. And I don't, General McQueen has the hardest job. He's told me it's the hardest job he's ever had. He has a hard job. Well, I wanted to know why Russell Hughes, the superintendent of Walton County, has the great. I mean, like we have an imaginary line. Why aren't we the same? What's going on? Why can't we have the same thing? Well, their property values. They have less than half our in total population, less than half of our student population, but they collect about $100 million more than we do in property taxes. So it's real easy for their school district to pay their teachers more, which in turn means that if you can drive across that imaginary line and make 15 or 20 grand more and you got to drive another 15 or 20 minutes, we're losing a lot of really good Bay County teachers to Walton County. I'm not blaming Superintendent Hughes. Don't blame him a bit. He's just the benefit of a very large budget. And Walton County has the second lowest millage in the state, 3.3 mils.
Yep.
It's not their county commission taxing and the superintendent reaping the benefits. They're just living off really valuable property.
Right.
And it benefits the schools. And the kids are, that's why you have a
So
really
if you
good
have
school
a
district.
classroom full of kids that have special needs, that need special resources, there's a huge budget there to pay for a lot of that
You're not
stuff
kidding.
based compared to the number of kids.
100%, much more than what our superintendent deals with. Our superintendent is pinching pennies much more so than Superintendent Hughes. Not his fault. Superintendent Hughes is a great man. He just has the luxury of a very flush budget right now.
Does the same thing happen? Because you mentioned out of those tax dollars, that's where police and fire and all that comes from. We've got a number of firefighters, even like in my church.
Yep.
Some of them drive to Walton County.
100%.
That's why they get paid more in Walton County?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The benefits might
I
be
just think
better.
it helps people to know that it's not simple.
My
simple math
daughter's former roommate was a local elementary school teacher here, and she took a job in Walton County because she's getting $15,000 more a year. She's teaching first grade in a Walton County elementary school. She drives a little further, but for $18,000 more a year, I don't think that bothers them.
Yeah.
That's real money. And so I think that part is going to be hard. And the one-size-fits-all approach for property tax will be very difficult. You will likely see something on the ballot in 26. That's kind of what we're working towards. And I just worry that we have to be very mindful that we don't have any unintended consequences. With the state is really good at being reactionary, and then a year or two later saying, "Oh, now we got to fix that, or we got to tweak that, or we got to do that." This is too big. We can't do that. We can't wake up in a year and say, "Okay, we've defunded our police and fire and EMS guys. We've made it very difficult for them to operate like they have." We can't do that.
I think by now those that are politically aware have seen some examples where there have been or have been unintended consequences by very popular things sometimes that have happened that have to be fixed later. Can you talk a little bit about construction regulations? There were some things passed relative to streamlining that process.
Yeah, we do. So somewhere over the last decades or last few decades, the state, in my opinion, we've given too much authority to building officials and fire inspectors and things like that, to the point that they're almost autonomous, and they have
a lot of power.
They have a lot of power, and they can be roadblocks, and we've got to figure out that that's not how government's supposed to be. I'm a big believer in following the rules and making sure we have safety and health hazards taken care of. But at the end of the day, if a church or a business wants to come into a building department and say, hey, we've got this idea. We want to do this. This is what we want to do. It's okay for them to say no. No, you can't do that. But what they also should say is, no, you can't do that. But have you thought about doing it this way or doing it that way? And you can't do it this way because of this law, but you can do it this way because this helps that law. There's little things I think that government could do to help change that. And local government is big at putting those firewalls up. And that's why at the state level, we step in and say, no, we're not going to do that. I worked with Space Florida the last few years. Tyndall was added to the list of space ports for Florida a couple of years ago. I did Tyndall and Homestead. Senator Trumbull and I did. We added those so that most people don't know that this space business in Florida is huge. There's an average of about 2 launches a week.
Yeah.
Going to space with payloads of satellites and that type of thing. So, and it's private. It's not NASA. This is private industry. And so this year, one of the construction regulations, I was approached and they said, Elon Musk's company is working on something at Cape Canaveral, and the building officials in the Cape are trying to pretty much slow down, or cause problems, or trying to tell them that they knew better about, landing rockets on barges or catching rockets with chopsticks and all the things that Elon has done. And I think all of us at the state started laughing and said, no, you're not going to do that. We're going to fix that and make sure that that type of industry and those types of people that are, PhDs and engineers, we're going to let them make those decisions and use their stamp. They went to school. They have a stamp that says that they're certified to do what they do.
It's common sense.
And let them control that part of their world. And so we have to step in sometimes. An example I've heard is if everybody did everything right, then the state wouldn't have to break out an 800-mile screwdriver and tighten the screws. And sometimes smaller communities and counties do some things that the state just goes, no, we're not going to let you do that. And so we step in and we fix it.
That's good.
And sometimes it's a brutal fix.
So a little bit all over the place with this question, with this statement or question, but hurricane relief, hurricane tax free holiday kind of stuff. We're in the middle of hurricane season.
Yeah, all through August is tax free. It's a great thing. I think those of us here locally who've been through Michael and other storms know that it's critical to be prepared.
Did they make that so that it's that way from now on, or is that just
that way? That's part of the new tax package. So used to be, I think, the first week or 10 days, and now we did the whole month and made it permanent. And
Good.
So I think that's a great thing for Floridians to tackle. They should use that. As you and I spoke before we got on air, that the hurricane's terrible and living through it's scary and all that. But those days after it, man, that's the worst part. I mean, and
having a generator helps a little bit.
Yeah, and if they say, you need water for 3 days, you better get it for 7. If you need, medicine for 7, you better get it for 14. Like, just double everything we think that we tell you.
That's right.
Just little things like that. And everybody I said, I'm like, take your phone, go around your house, spend 2 hours and video your house, top to bottom, inside out, everything you own. I said, that's the greatest documentation you'll ever have if you have to fight with your insurance.
Yep.
Hey, let me show you my video. I took this 1 hour before it blew up.
Yep.
And you show them. I think those are things that people just have never had to live through that we know now. We know that the things that you got to do.
You don't have to be scared, but you do need to be prepared.
100%. Be prepared. And look, if the county calls for an evacuation, leave. Don't stay. Stupid. You're not going to be able to do anything. Just leave. The county will get you back in as quick as they can for safety reasons. But at the end of the day, everyone that stayed in my family after Michael would not stay again because it was scary.
Yeah.
And everyone that stayed and was scared ended up having to leave anyhow because you don't have water, sewer, power, nothing. Like, so they had to leave anyhow. And then they had to you had to navigate some nastiness those next couple of days, right?
Right.
So look, if those guys up at the EOC say, we have an evacuation order, low-lying areas, just pack up and go north. Just go to Dothan or something for the night.
Yeah.
It's safer.
Well, and if you get scared, you can always make the arrangements, go up there, and if you need to cancel them, you can. So I want to brag on you for a second. I think that you guys did a pretty good job between you and Trumbull. Y'all were able to bring a lot of dollars back.
Yeah, we
to
were
our,
lucky.
our district.
We were lucky. Like I said earlier, we meet with every city and the NGOs, and typically what we do is we tell a city, we're like, bring us your priority list, and usually they have a lot of priorities, things that they would like, and we tell them one water project, whether it's sewer, potable water, whatever, one water project and one transportation project, road type thing. Occasionally, we'll let a city, like we did Lynn Haven this year, submit for a fire truck because they needed the help with their fire apparatus. And so that's what we do. We submit those. Those forms are very detailed. They're long. The applicants have to put a lot of work into them. My staff does a lot of work into them. And then they go through kind of a big it's kind of a big funnel. We submit all the things, and it goes through several different cycles. Once it's all submitted, and then about halfway through session, the budget is released. And you hope at that point you've done enough working on your projects that it makes that budget. And I filed 28. I had 26, I think, make the budget, and then he funded right at 20, the governor did.
Wow.
And so that's Senator Trumbull and I divide and conquer. He obviously has a much larger district, but those projects in Bay County, he and I sit down many times through the year and find out what we need to focus on. Hey, these projects look good. The chairs and the sub-chairs don't have any problem, but these are the ones that we still need to go concentrate on funding for. So we go to the individual chairs and sit down in front of their office and say, I need help. These are projects that I need in my community. And thankfully, I tell people all the time that you're building these relationships every single day so that when things like this happen, when you sit down in front of the person with the checkbook, you have that relationship. They trust you, they know you, and you work with them. It's a negotiation in my world. And there are times when I'll look at her or him or her, the chair, and say, you have those 5 projects, and the chair might say, do you want full funding for one, or do you want a little money for all? And sometimes I'll say, well, how about get rid of that project and fund the other 4 or whatever. Things like we just work through a negotiation. And I think it bodes well to bring the kind of money home that we did this year. We were very successful in a very lean budget year to have the success we did. So, yeah, we were blessed.
The positions that you hold within both the House and the Senate at the state level matter a lot relative to the money that you can then leverage to come back to Northwest Florida.
100%.
And it appears that there is, obviously, just talking with you and Ashton, your aide, the fact is that you're networking well and have made progress in your tenure in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
But we're also seeing the same with Jay Trumbull.
Senator Trumbull, most people don't recognize Jay's a young man. Jay's in his late 30s and has already served 8 years in the House and now 3 in the Senate. He was chair of appropriations in the House, which was a very powerful position, and very much in line, it looks like, to be president of the Senate in a few years. So we're very blessed to have Senator Trumbull in the position he is. He will do great things for Bay County and the region. And he is as good in the process as anybody. And he and I working together has been it's been fun to tackle some of these things together.
I want to say it a different way. Having these roles is more than just a feather in a cap or something on a resume for guys that are actually serving. It translates into real dollars that come back to our district.
Oh no, yeah.
Does that make sense?
No.
Like, I want our people that are hearing it to know that.
There's a lot of people in Tallahassee. There's not a lot. There are people in Tallahassee. There's 160 elected officials.
Yeah.
Plus the governor and the cabinet. But the 160 electeds, there are people there who, since elementary school, wanted to be an elected official, right? This has been their goal. And to some of them, Tallahassee is life. It is their world. Like, it makes them whole. Tallahassee does not make me whole. I am whole here at home.
You miss home when you're in
I
Tallahassee.
miss home
I
when
know
I'm
that.
up there. But the work is very, very important. And so when I go up there and I fight for Gulf Coast State College, and I fight for, Callaway, and I fight for Panama City and Panama City Beach, to me, that's important work.
It is.
That to
It
me
is
is
important.
really, I have met friends that don't hardly ask for any appropriations from the state because their communities are affluent. They're wealthy. They have tons of tax revenue. We're not that people. We are still, in my world, recovering from a hurricane.
Yep.
We still have Springfield's fire department is still in a double wide trailer. I use that example all the time. That's not acceptable in my world. I'm going to fight for that every day until I can fix it. And that's just one of the many problems in Bay County. Good news, Bay, is that we're really, really in good shape, but we're not perfect, and we're going to fight every day until we get there. To me, that's my most important job, is to go up there to bring back, bring home the bacon, whatever you want to call it. But it's like a Christmas gift. Now granted, these communities are the state, or the colleges, or the communities, they put money in. There is a match in these gifts that we give them. Yeah. But a lot of times they would not ever be able to complete this project if the state didn't step in and help them do that. And and like with the colleges, nursing educations and things like that, that's real and that's tangible with generational benefits.
I'm enjoying talking to you, and I got to be careful time wise. But here, a couple more things I wanted to ask. There's change in the air at the state level.
Yeah.
Tell us, for those of us who don't follow it every day, what does it look like?
So our speakers change every 2 years. And so I have the 26 will be with Speaker Perez, and then he is termed out. We will get a new speaker. Speaker Garrison will start in 27. We will also be getting a new governor. So we're going to have a whole president of the Senate, a new Speaker of the House, and a new governor, all starting at the same time. And so it's going to be, it's going to be different. I mean, it's when you have dynamic change like that, you better be fluid and figure out how to adapt, because it's changing and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Well, I know our guys are resilient. Y'all, you are resilient.
Yeah.
And
the House is a younger crowd. I don't know what the average age of the House is, but I'm not the oldest, but I'm not the youngest by any stretch. I mean, Rep Porras is 26, 27, and there might be another member in his 70s. Okay. So I'm kind of in the middle of the road, but it's a young man's game. It takes a lot of energy, but we do a really good job of being the adult in the room. That's what I like to say, is we like to be the adult in the room.
That is great. Your team. Tell me real quick about your team. Yeah. We're going to wrap her up.
So I got two teammates. I got Ashton Norton, who's my legislative aide, and Shanta Brannon. She's our district aide. She runs the office. Shanta makes Ashton and I look good with the constituent services. She handles all the problems from the office standpoint. If anybody in the county or the district has problems with a state agency, call our office and ask for Shanta, and she'll help you out. Ashton's the legislative aide, so he's my handler in Tallahassee. He sits right there beside me and keeps my calendar, runs what we call Legis, which is kind of our legislative dashboard. He's very good at all these things that aides are required to do. There's a lot of discussion with him and policy chiefs, making sure things are amended or language is corrected correctly. He's constantly ending meetings and starting meetings when we get long and go over time and stuff. So I'm very blessed to have two of the best staff members in the state. I wouldn't trade them for the world. I wish I could keep them forever, but I know they're going to go on and do big and great things one day, and then I'll have to find somebody else, but I don't want to talk about that. That's bad news. But no, I'm very, very blessed with my team, and I couldn't do it without them.
Well, it sounds like I know Ashton does a good job, and I hear Shanta's a rock star.
We are blessed. I mean, we are very, very lucky that we don't have to worry about anything at the local office when we're gone for 105 days.
Yep.
She handles it all.
So you love Northwest Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get out in the bay last week and find some scallops?
I did. I went scalloping Saturday with my wife, my youngest daughter, and a couple of her buddies and my nephew.
Did it take all day to get a limit?
No. It was the best I remember since I was in high school. And I called Coach Chester to brag a little bit, and he said he got his limit too. And so I think everybody did really well.
Yeah. This is good for Northwest Florida.
It's a good year for scallops right now. I hope there's still a bunch out there for the people that still keep going for the next few weeks and while the season's open. But it was I just like the adventure.
The day to remember.
It's a great adventure to go over there and do it. And like I said, from the beaches to the sand hills to Deer Point to Phillips Inlet, I've been in every body of water in this county, I think, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I wouldn't trade it
Griff,
for nothing.
it's always a treat. I appreciate you coming to give us an update.
Appreciate the invite. Always a pleasure to come and talk to you guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Help us encourage others by sharing this content. You can also like it, and certainly we would love it if you subscribe to the content so you can be one of the first to get the new episode when it drops.